Hey, fellow traveler. Welcome to the Third Eye Awakening podcast, a show where we talk all about spiritual and psychic awakening, magic, the shift from 3D to 5D, star seeds, ascension, multiple timelines, multiple dimensions, the universe, the multiverse, the Akashic records, all the good things. I am your host, Amy Belair, and I'm so glad to have you here with me today. Okay, let's do this. Hi, my friends. Welcome to a solo episode of the Third Eye Awakening podcast. Today, I want to talk to you all about the dragons and the angelics. And anyway, I feel like I need to do a monthly solo episode to catch you all up on the evolution of my perception of what is going on here. If only so that you can understand what the fuck I'm talking about when I'm posting on social media or writing emails or whatever, so that you have a greater context. And hopefully these shares serve you. And again, I will begin the episode by saying that in no way am I trying to suggest that this is like facts and that you're all required to believe what I believe. That's not how I feel at all. I'm just presenting to you the way that it makes sense to me in the good faith that it will activate your own understanding in such a way that it helps you to make sense of things in the way that you are supposed to for you. Okay. So in the fall, it was in the summer actually, I had this vision. And it was very, very informative to me. And I've never shared it publicly. I shared it in the Understanding Entities Reptilian Edition Masterclass that I did at some point last year. But I've never shared it, to the audience at large. And in order to explain the Angelics and the Dragons, I feel like it is important to give this as kind of like backstory context. So this vision came to me during a sound journey experience with Ben Carroll. It was amazing. Ben is, I just can't speak highly enough of Ben. I feel extremely honored to know him, and I feel like what he puts out into the world is such a beautiful contribution to the collective consciousness. He's truly a gift. I can't speak highly enough of Ben. If you don't know, if you haven't checked out his sound journeys, please do. Please do. They're absolutely spectacular. Anyhow, so my intention of going into this sound journey was to better understand the darkness, because I guess I kind of felt the direction that, at least the direction that I'm moving, but I know it's that way for others too, because, I talk to other people and they tell me that they're also going through basically it's like a required phase of really coming face to face with the darkness. And it's like I knew I needed to understand it more fully at a higher level in a way that is not about spiritually bypassing, but that allows me to navigate it with more consciousness through this level in this dimension as a human. Okay, so in this vision, there were 12 beings. I intuitively know that they are seraphim. In my vision, they look like humans. I am not saying that seraphim or any angels look like humans. They probably don't. But this is what my mind could latch onto in order to understand the message that I was getting. So these 12 beings are arranged in a circle, facing inward. And they're not standing evenly spread out. They're kind of arranged in pairs. So there's like two of them and then a larger gap, and two of them close together and a larger gap, and two of them close together and a larger gap, etc., to make 12 beings standing in a circle. The environment that they were in, honestly, looked literally like clouds, like a cloud world, like just what it would look like inside of a cloud. Which is probably why people think that angels live on clouds. Or maybe that's why it looked like a cloud, because my mind has that symbol in it already. Anyhow, at the center of this circle was, I don't know what to call it. Like I can call it like an orb of light or a ball of light, but is so much more than that. It looked like a dancing, beautiful flame, but it was not fire. It was just light. It looked like a gentle fire or a candle flame that, you know, the way that a candle flame moves when it's like flickering, but it's also very fluid and very gentle. But it also looked like it had a little bit more dynamic, like liquid element to it, like the water bubbling out at the top of an ornamental fountain. And this light was the most beautiful and brilliant white. But as it moved, it would like flash in this iridescence, kind of like the flash of a piece of rainbow moonstone or labradorite or something like that, you know, where we see that beautiful flash. But the color of the flash of this white light, I guess I'll call it a flame, a liquid flame of light. I don't know. The flash of this white light, the iridescence was like, sometimes it would be this sort of like violet magenta hue, and sometimes it would be this like aqua blue hue, and sometimes it would be this golden hue. But they would just be like a flash of iridescence, and the rest of the time it was white. So it's just so beautiful is what I'm trying to say. And these 12 beings, these 12 seraphim standing in this circle, in this cloud world or mist world, they were, in some fashion or another, they were weaving the tapestry of realities using sound as the tool and this light as the medium. So like they would use sound to direct almost like the paint of this light to create realities. And they were always facing each other, but their gaze was always upon the light. So while they're weaving these realities, they aren't really even looking at them. It's like they're transfixed on this light, and that is where they are supposed to be. They're doing what they are designed to do, what they are created to do. And the joy is in the creation for those seraphim that I saw. The joy is in the creation. So the realities that they're weaving aren't meant for them. They aren't made for them. And they don't even look at them. The tapestry is taking form behind them. Almost like the paint of this living liquid light, this liquid flame, the paint of that is flowing to them, and through the use of sound, they are molding it and moving it and braiding it in streams together with each other. Like they each have their own stream of light, and they have almost like their own color influence and their own sound, and it creates unique patterns, and they weave it together with each other's and combine it all, and it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. But they aren't even aware of the beauty of what they're creating, because they don't, that part almost like flows over their shoulder behind them, and they never see it because their gaze is always upon that living, flowing flame of light. and everything is peaceful, and everything is, you can't even say it's happy, because to describe it requires polarity, and that beginning part of the vision, there is no polarity. It just is. That is how it is. And then there was one of these beings, these seraphim beings, and I'm going to use the pronoun he because it felt like a masculine energy, but please know that in no way am I suggesting that, the same way that all this shade has been thrown at women because Eve ate the fruit. In no way am I trying to suggest that by my using the he pronoun that I think that men are responsible for this, or that I'm trying to say that men are the bad guys, or that men carry any of the burden of any of this at all, because that is not how I feel. So, try your best to not be triggered by my use of the he pronoun and just follow the story. So, one of the beings started to feel this sense of curiosity, and it felt honestly like a very mild and innocent curiosity to begin with. He started to feel a curiosity that he wanted to see what their creation looked like. He just became aware of it, I guess. And so slowly he began to turn his head away and turn his gaze away from that light and look over his shoulder in the opposite direction of that light to look at the creation itself. And what he saw was so unspeakably beautiful, just utterly enchanting and mesmerizing, literally beyond description, that he felt it was almost like he was magnetized to it, almost like he was in a trance. He just wanted to get closer. He wanted to see it with more clarity. And essentially what he wanted to do in deciding to turn away and do that is he wanted to interact with the creation on some level. And that went against sort of the natural flow of the order of how the creation is occurring and the direction that consciousness is flowing optimally and organically, if that makes sense. Because the creation was not meant for the seraphim. They were creating it, but they were not creating it for themselves to experience the creation. But he was drawn to have an experience with the creation. And so he was walking closer and closer to the creation, or moving closer and closer to this tapestry of realities that was being woven by the collective of seraphim. And at first, the rest of us didn't notice. And you're going to notice, I'm going to refer to it like I was there, because I actually believe that I was there. I believe that this is a memory. It feels very much like I was there. Not as Amy, but the consciousness that animates Amy is a tiny fractal of one of those beings. So I'm not saying that I am literally a seraphim, but just that I have a connection with one of those conscious beings. Anyway, so it was at first we didn't notice that he was gone, because we were all absolutely eyes locked on this beautiful light, this source of light. But eventually, it's we became aware that his unique note, his unique sound signature was missing, and his unique color was missing. And at that moment, we all broke our gaze from staring straight at this light in order to look around for him and be what? Where did he go? And we saw him moving closer and closer to the reality, like closer and closer and closer. And we were like, what are you doing? Come back. And then at that moment, it's like he reached an event horizon where it's like I don't know, like the energy of the reality, the tapestry of reality, the magnetic energy of it was so strong that it like pulled him over an edge and into that reality. I hope you're following me. It's really hard to describe it. I mean, I see it vividly. I wish I could make a movie of it. I wish I was some like a videographer. I'm just not. I don't have the technological chops to do it, although it would make me translating all these things is so much easier. But what it kind of looked like was like, we were like, what are you doing? Come back. And just at that moment, it's like he fell over the edge of a waterfall. Like the current, the momentum of the current of that reality that he had, basically started to follow, reached a tipping point and pulled him over. And so he fell. And we were like, ah! Because he is our brother. This had never happened before. We had no context at all. There were no protocols. Protocols aren't even a thing. And so I was going to say that we all dove down, but I don't think we all dove down, but a lot of us dove down. Maybe half of us. I have no idea. A third of us, I literally don't know. It's probably a third because I feel like it was four. Four of us dove down to try and basically rescue him. And the way it looks is like we took our stream of light with us. And so he's falling and we are trying our best to weave a rope of light around him, almost to like braid him into a rope that we can use to stop the fall and pull him back up and like get on with it the way it was supposed to be. But no matter how hard we tried to weave this rope, braid this rope around him, we were not successful, and he just kept falling, and so did we. And it's like we followed him down through all the dimensions, and it's like I can see the cascade of energy and the way that the energy that we brought, the light that we brought down into all these dimensions, the way that it uniquely patterns and takes shape through the bandwidths that delineate the different dimensions. And his color changed into a dark color. Not because he's evil, but because he was the first one to turn away from that light, which you might have gathered, I believe that light is God or some representation of God. If not the total God, it is like an essence of God. And so he was the first to turn away from God. And ultimately, even though it was a very innocent curiosity, it was a self-serving curiosity. And that changed the purity of his light and his sound frequency, and it like distorted it. And so as we're trying to braid our light around him to catch him, we are also inextricably, tightly weaving our light with his darkness. And then there was this other event horizon, this other level where it's, I don't know, I still can't really understand or explain it. I believe it's the third dimension, and I don't know why it is this way, but it's like there was this point where we knew that we had reached as far as we could go after him, and we had to stop. And it's like he broke through a barrier and kept falling. And that created like the upside down. in Stranger Things, like a very similar, like it created an underworld, it created a reversal. And he fell and fell and fell and fell and fell all the way to the bottom of that reversal. And we didn't go with him there. But his female counterpart, who I don't believe was on the initial, like rescue mission of trying to weave the rope of light around him, I believe she stayed behind, like in the cloud world, watching in horror. And when she realized that we did not succeed in our rescue mission, she dove alone, like of her own free will, she dove after him to thinking that she could rescue him. But she could not, and so she became trapped down there too. Okay, I kind of have to organize my thoughts. Hold on a second. Okay, I kind of got lost in that vision. I had to bring myself back. It feels very real to me. I very much feel like it is a memory. Anyhow, so we kind of created this mess by accident. And the point that I really want to emphasize is that, like, even though he made a selfish decision, in its initial moment of that decision, it was very, it was innocent. It was mild. It was a mild decision with a very slight tinge of self-servingness, rather than service to the whole, the oneness. But the whole thing created this mess that we experience here, where there's so much light and there's so much beauty that is woven around and with and through a line of darkness that you could say it taints the whole thing. I believe it runs through all of the dimensions. So if I were to hazard a guess, I don't know, I started recording this and then I was like, you sound way too rambly. It's like I needed a dry run and this is the real one. I can't remember whether it was in that dry run or in this one that I said I don't know what dimension this was. But if I had to guess, I would say it is the 15th dimension because it feels like it's outside of the 12th dimension. Like, so to me here, like everything that we experience as galactics, starseeds, human beings, all that stuff is within the 12 dimensions. And then the 13th dimension is like this void space. It's actually probably the event horizon, that first event horizon where he fell over the waterfall. That's the 13th dimension. And then I'm not sure what the 14th dimension is. Honestly, I don't know. But for whatever reason, no, maybe actually that's the 14th dimension. Anyway, I don't know, whatever. Who cares? The point is, this darkness, the point I'm trying to make is that this line of darkness, this thread of darkness is inextricably interwoven with all of our beautiful light all the way down through all of the dimensions, through the 12th dimension down. You know what? I'm sorry, I'm puzzling some of this out in real time. This is what like my internal monologue sounds like, just so you know. I'm realizing now that the other, like the barrier was the first dimension. Like he got to the first dimension and he kept falling and we were like, we can't go any farther. And that was like, oh, and now we're into the reversal. And there's the other void, which is the 0 point field. And then on the other side, it's -1, -2, -3. Anyway. Okay, so there's this mess here. And I did a live in Soul Space, which is also available to watch on YouTube, where I kind of talked about some of this stuff and talked about like identifying that I feel very much like I am here with a responsibility to help clean up this mess because I am one of the ones that that fell. Even if I dove down to be part of a rescue mission, I think I'm a fallen angel. I literally do. And make of that what you will. Anyway, but I'm definitely not here on behalf of evil. I'm here knowing that it is my job to clean up this mess, and knowing that part of cleaning up this mess is alchemizing and accepting the darkness rather than pushing it away. So our brother fell and our sister joined him. And I honestly believe that they and all of their beings, like all of the, all like the greater demons, the lesser demons, whatever, the Nephilim, whatever, pieces of consciousness that are under the dominion of darkness. I honestly believe that at their ultimate core, they are starving and suffocating, and they are in unbearable, excruciating pain, even if they have the mentality of total and utter sociopaths that are unable to acknowledge that. I believe that they are constantly, continuously trying to get back to that light, especially, the full form of our fallen seraphim brother and sister. I believe that they are continuously reaching to return to that light. But it's still a self-serving reach. Like they want to return to the light in order to end their suffering. And because it is self-serving, everything that they try to do to get back to that light causes them to fall into deeper reversal, if that makes sense. That is the direction it pulls them in. So I also want to share some perceptions that I have about what this means through the different dimensions. So if God is that light, or that light is a representation of God, because I will never even pretend that I, in my human form, can begin to fathom the magnitude of everything that is God. All I know is that the God that I connect with is pure, unspeakable love and light. I don't care how cheesy that sounds. That's what I feel. That's all as a human I can explain. But for the sake of articulating my viewpoint, I guess, I'll say that light was God. If God is that light, then Satan is the full counterpart of God, and it is the total black hole, like the concentrated vacuum absence of that light. And if Adam is God's most beloved creation, or even, we don't even have to call it that. I mean, if Adam is God's creation, God's exalted creation, I don't know how to put it. In this realm is what I'm talking about. Then Lucifer is the opposite, in the upside down of Adam. Both of them being God's creation. One of them being on the, being the aspect of God's creation that is woven with that light, and Lucifer being the expression of the fallen seraphim. I'm not saying the fallen seraphim was Lucifer either. I want to be really clear about that. I have no idea. But the expression of the fallen seraphim that plays out in the narratives of this realm, that is the analog to Adam, is Lucifer. And then if Christ is the human embodied representation whether symbolic or real, I still have no idea. But it is the concept of it is like the 12th dimensional, like the merger of the human vessel, like fully human, fully God, fully human, fully that love, fully that light, all at the same time. If that's what Christ is, then the analog in the upside down is the Antichrist. So I don't know. I mean, that made sense when I was making my notes. I hope I articulated it properly. Again, I kind of feel like, I personally feel like there's no point in trying to, at this time anyway, trying to like guess who the Antichrist is, because I don't know. It just seems like so easy to come from a place of, human sort of like limited vision, ignorance, and point fingers at people. And I just think as humans, most of the time we don't fucking know anything. And I say this even as I share the cutting edge, most expanded version of what I think I know. I also am aware that like I'm like 99.7% blind, and I'm seeing 0.2% of what actually is reality. Anyhow, so that's kind of my context. That's me laying the groundwork to explain to you what I mean about the Angelics and the Dragons. And I feel like it's worth doing this because, as you've heard, I am enrolling for my Dragon Priestess Mastermind, and there's been a little bit of evolution in that too. But I just feel like I'm sort of moving away from talking to people's galactic aspects, and I feel compelled to talk to people's angelic and dragon aspects. And I'm still figuring out what these are, because it started to come to me last year, and I was like, I shared in that live that I did this past week, like, I used to think angels were such bullshit. I used to think light language was bullshit, and I didn't think dragons were bullshit, but I didn't think they were real. I thought they were fantasy creatures. Like, I've never had pictures or totems of angels or dragons in my life, in my space ever before. I just thought angels were like, those sappy, like, it's like basically a white chick in a long gown on a cloud playing a harp with wings. You know what I mean? I do not believe now that's what angels are at all. Not even a little bit. But I feel, as I said, very compelled to talk to people's angelic and dragon aspects. And I started to get the information about both of them last year. That's partly what inspired 1212. And while I was doing 1212, which I knew was about the Christ consciousness, I knew it was about me expanding higher into that like level of resonance and alignment with the, living light of the God source creator, and trying to embody it as best as I can, which I fall tremendously short in human form. So the angelic part didn't really take me by surprise, but the dragons totally took me by surprise. I was like, what? Like dragons? What the hell? Anyway, what I have come to understand is, at least to me, it feels like they are two sides of the same being. And whereas we've normally, even probably myself, I've probably previously perceived that angels and demons were two sides of the same being, but I actually don't think that's quite true. I think angelics and dragons are two sides of the same being. And I don't mean that dragons are evil at all. So the angelic is, to me, it's the more, I'm going to say, the feminine expression of this one being. And okay, first of all, hold on, let me back up. Maybe I have to go through the dimensions. Okay, so I'm going to run through this. I'm going to rapid fire through it. If you can't follow me, don't worry about it. It doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to start from the 0 point field. 0 point field. It is the field of that beautiful light and love that is God, that is totally undifferentiated. It's even before the colors. It's pure, just pure, undifferentiated potential, and the frequency of it is the frequency that we experience as love. The most pure and perfect love you can even begin to comprehend. The first dimension is the first differentiation. So it's like that within that field of pure potential, it becomes something. In the second dimension, it becomes another thing. So it's the first something and then it becomes another something. And those are in relationship to each other. It can be like a couple, opposites, like polarity or whatever, but it can also be like harmonized, like two notes harmonizing, or a pair, or like it can be clashing colors or matching colors. You know what I mean? It's just two things and the relationship between them. The third dimension is the addition of a third thing that has a perspective, and it is an experiencer. So that's us. We are the experiencer. We are in relationship to the first thing and the second thing and everything in between. And we become the chooser, and we experience and we relate to those two things. And that creates a triangle of ever moving like perspectives, and it's very complicated but very beautiful. The fourth dimension is time and space and the story that unfolds as, consciousness evolves through time and space while it relates to itself in the third dimension. I really hope this makes sense. The fifth dimension is the portal of the heart. It is the heart of God. It is at the center of everything. And it's like when you become aware of that and you enter that portal, you suddenly have access to everything in the toroidal field of creation. So you suddenly have that. I believe the fifth dimension is actually the quantum field. I don't think the 0 point field and the quantum field are the same thing. This is only coming to me right now, but whatever. I'm kind of splitting hairs. You don't have to agree with me. I'm just explaining this so you understand what the fuck I'm talking about in the rest of this episode and in the future. Okay, so the fifth dimension is like where you're still in an individual experience. So you're still like yourself. You're still having that 3D, 4D experience, but you also at the exact same time are anchored in the total unwavering awareness that we are all one being and we are all connected. And that it takes you outside of space-time. The sixth dimension is like basically cymatics. And it's where, when I was describing the seraphim that were weaving realities out of light using sound as a sculpting mechanism or a tool, that's what the sixth and seventh dimension are. So the sixth dimension is the geometric patterns that are created, like cymatics. And the seventh dimension is the light. So you could say the sixth dimension is the sound, seventh dimension is light. The eighth dimension is the oversoul or the great dreaming mind, but it is not God. It is like, it's like I am the great dreaming mind to my dream characters. And I am a dream character in the dream of an even greater dreaming mind, which is a dream character in the dream of an even greater dreaming mind. And it's where like really the polarity that we experience here, the dark, the light, the good, the evil, all of that interweaves together and flows. It's like the yin yang, or, the eighth dimension is also the infinity sign, but it's just standing vertically instead of horizontally. The ninth dimension is the way that this continues to replicate itself infinitely and infinite scales, like a Mandelbrot set. So the ninth dimension is where I'm saying like the eighth dimension is the greater dreaming mind. And in the ninth dimension, it's like, which is a character in the dream of an even greater dreaming mind, which is a character in a dream of an even greater dreaming mind, on, infinitely in both directions. The 10th dimension is the spiral movement. It's like the dynamic movement, the cycle. It's like the direction of the drain. Like I don't know. It's all a toroidal field. I wish I had visuals to show you, but a toroidal field, if you don't know, it's shaped kind of like a donut, like a big deep donut. So the 10th dimension is the natural current of energy, the flow of the cycle that we are all part of. And this cycle replicates itself at all scales. The 11th dimension, I believe, is the Akashic records or the Akashic field, and it's the web of connection that connects literally every single thing through all of the dimensions of this reality, physical, non-physical, everything is connected, everything's all the same energy. It's kind of like if you imagine a spider web, like it's all one string. You know what I mean? Like it's all, there is no part of the spider web that isn't part of the rest of the spider web. Or if we take an example of a tree, there is no part of a tree that isn't connected to the rest of the tree. Do you know what I mean? So that's the 11th dimension. And I believe that's the Akashic field, and that's where everything is sort of recorded in like an energy imprint. And the 12th dimension is, I used to think of it as the through line that connects all the other dimensions. It's like the axis that the spiral, the cycle turns around, like the navel, the anchor point that holds all of it together. But the 12th dimensional consciousness for a human being is the Christ consciousness. It is the ability to be in a human body, in these human stories, and be totally aware of self, utterly and totally and completely as your default, not just as a ephemeral passing experience, but as your locked in integrated default, being totally, completely aware of all dimensional aspects of self at once. The 13th dimension is the void space. It's like the birth canal. It's like the place where it's a nothingness. It's a space of total and utter mystery. There no one knows. It's like maybe like the singularity of a black hole, something like that. And then the 14th dimension, I believe, is basically, this is where it gets a little bit tricky and dicey for me, where I'm not entirely certain. So what I feel up there, beyond that, I'm not sure which dimensions they belong to. I would say that the 14th dimension is almost like the new thing that is birthed out, but it's not really like, it's not the newborn baby. It's like the spirit baby. Like the spirit baby before it enters the void space, before it gets birthed into the lower 12 dimensions. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. It's the spirit baby. And I mean that literally, and I mean it sort of metaphorically or figuratively, like it's the spirit baby of all creation that has not been created yet, or has not been experienced or like birthed into the lower 12 dimensions on the other side of the void. And then the 15th, 16th, and 17th dimensions feel to me like, that's why at first I was like, I think it's the 15th dimension, because I feel that the angels and dragons are at the 15th dimension. They are like creator level beings, and I'll go deeper into that. And then the 16th and 17th dimensions, I honestly believe are like the no, I think the 17th dimension is God. The 15th and 16th are the angels and dragons, and I don't know which is at which. It doesn't matter because they're totally outside of space-time. It's totally, completely outside of space-time. And so there's no, like, the reason that I'm sort of grappling with this is because it's my human mind trying to understand it through the context of this bandwidth of reality. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't, it's not a thing. It brings me back to that one past life memory I had that I shared in one of my very first 3 podcast episodes ever about my spiritual awakening story. where I just had this like sudden flash image of myself in my true form. And I kind of looked like an axolotl, like a weird, I don't know, weird undulating like eel with, I don't know, it's like an eel with like fins. I don't know. It's so weird, but I'm like the axolotl part is that like weird sort of albino pinky white kind of iridescent. And I was just undulating and iridescing, but I could tell there was no space and there was no time. Like, I don't really know how else to describe it, because if I was undulating, then there must have been space, but there wasn't. I just know that. So there's absolutely no way to describe these things, is the point that I'm trying to make. Okay, so that's how I perceive the dimensions in a nutshell. If you want to hear and learn more about them, then I suggest that you join Heartstar Creator, which is a fucking absolute steal. It is a steal, the amount of information that I am sharing in there in a much more concise and organized way. Okay. So the angelic, you could call it the feminine energy, but I don't mean female like we experience it here. Here, the term feminine is so fucking loaded. I mean, on purpose, PS, to sow the seeds of dissent so that we are at each other's throats all the time. But I don't mean it feminine in the loaded way that we understand as humans. I just mean that, you know, there's God, and God is a single totality. It's just one. It's oneness. And then God differentiates into two things, masculine and feminine. And all that means is like a positive charge and a negative charge, like a clockwise spin, a counterclockwise spin. Like it's just a matching pair. Oh my God. I just want to go, like, I want to make this like a 4-hour-long podcast where I explain everything. And I'm like, no, that's why you created Heartstar. That's where you explain everything. Anyhow, so the angelic feels to me like what we would call the feminine aspect of this one being. The feminine aspect of God, I suppose you could say. I guess that's what I'm kind of saying. So it is receptive. It is passive. It is totally egoless. Remember back when I was describing that the seraphim were like transfixed. Their gaze was absolutely locked, unwaveringly locked on the light of God. They never looked anywhere. They were not looking for the clock to see how long their shift was. They were not looking at the shape of the clouds. They weren't even looking at each other or each other's faces or at what they were creating. Nothing. They were 100% eyes locked on God, on that light. No ego, no investment in, in anything. And yet still being individuated. So they were in total submission and surrender to the oneness that is all. The dragon is the masculine. So it is imposing. I tried really hard to find a word that is the opposite of receptive, that communicates what I'm trying to say. And imposing is the best one I can come up with. But this is why I hate English, because it's not the correct word. But I mean, like, when you think of a receptive energy, meaning it's literally just receiving. It is totally passive and it is receiving something. There has to be an equal and opposite. Like if you think about a penis and a vagina, literally the vagina is receptive. The penis is the thing that is, entering the vagina to deposit something. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to say. Imposing is the best word I could come up with, and it's not the right word at all, but it's to say that the dragon it is not receptive. It is, maybe there's a better word and I just can't think of it, and you're all yelling at me while you're listening to this right now, in which case I feel like an idiot, but I can't think of it if there is such a word. The dragon is putting something out. It is like propelling something. Yeah, it's like a propulsion. It is delivering something. Anyhow, and it's active. It is doing something. It is ego. It is ego. It is total like self-awareness and the drive behind like our own ego and our free will. And it's like ego in total acceptance and mastery of its power as a sovereign causal agent in this reality. So together they make the same being. And neither is superior to the other. It doesn't matter if one is in the 15th dimension and one is in the 16th. There actually is no hierarchy in the dimensions at all. No dimension is better than the other at all. Not even the 5th dimension. None of it is better than any of the other dimensions. So they're on equal footing completely, but they are two extreme higher dimensional representations of the totality energy of the same being. I don't know. English forever. Okay. I'm going to pause again and collect my thoughts again. Okay. So I'm coming up on time anyway, and I feel like what makes the most sense is for me to just describe the energies so that you can self-identify if you think that you carry any of these energies. And I want to say too, like, first of all, if you want to hear more and you haven't already listened to the live that I did, go check it out. It's hanging out in Soul Space. Part of it is on Instagram and the whole thing is on YouTube. And I really apologize for the audio. I think what happened, like there's all this interference, background white noise. I think what happened is I took my AirPod out of my ear, but I didn't put it back in the case and it didn't disconnect from like my phone, like the Bluetooth. And so even though I was not wearing my AirPod, that's what was pulling in the, like my vocal transmission, if that makes sense. So if you want to hear more about it, then go check that out. But otherwise, I also want to say, I have no idea how many of us carry the dragon, how many of us carry the angel. I believe that honestly, all of us actually do carry both, but it is not awakened and accessible. It's not within the realm that is emerging into our consciousness for every human being right now. So I talk a lot about it in that live where I'm like being really clear that in no way do I think that I am better than anybody else or more advanced, or like if I'm saying like, oh, I actually think I'm a seraphim or I'm a drip down from a seraphim. It's not because I think that my consciousness is so evolved. I believe that probably there are a lot of you that are a drip down of the exact same seraphim being that I am a drip down of. You know what I mean? It's like a cell in the body of Amy being like, oh, I think that I am a drip down of a human and that makes me special and the rest of you are all just cells. Like it actually... It's like that. So, and I talk a lot about the fracturing and the fragmentation that happens here in this realm, I believe on purpose by the dark agents that are actually almost like incapable of doing anything other than acting as dark agents. But they're definitely also like riding that ride for sure. And doing it on purpose. But I talk about like what I think NPCs are and why some people don't have the angelic in them right now or the dragon in them right now. Okay. So the dragon, I'm going to start with the dragon. The dragon to me feels like somebody who is carrying a larger than life level of power. I mean, like fucking power. And it is not power that comes from any kind of like appointment or office bestowed upon them by any, hierarchical man-created structure. It has nothing to do with credentials or education or any of those external fabrications. It is an internal source of power. the example I used in the live was Oprah, and I kind of regretted it. So I'm going to use Tony Robbins. I'm not a Tony Robbins person at all, actually, but I recognize that Tony Robbins is a motherfucking dragon. He has so much power. I don't know anything about him, so I can't comment either way, whether he is the real deal or he has been like co-opted by the dark agents. I have no freaking clue, but I just am offering him as an example that we can all probably be like, oh yeah, okay, I see what she's talking about. It's just a huge amount of power and an ability to create, like to move mountains, to create waves, a massive level of impact. Absolutely massive and completely unlimited. Like there's no ceiling for Tony Robbins. He is the one who determines when he has reached the heights that he is comfortable perching at or resting at. Do you know what I mean? There's no limitation. And I believe that more and more dragons are waking up. So dragons are, well, I'll also say this too. I mean, there's a lot that I'm coming to understand that I don't, this is a work in progress. And I'm doing field research as I connect with clients and things like that. I have identified that the dragons, and I have to give credit to Colleen Turner. We all love Colleen, I'm sure. I definitely do. That she is a dragon, and she and I have been like working on puzzling this out together. And so I think this idea originated with her, but I resonate with it completely, is that there are dragons that are asleep here. They appear to be petrified. They look like landscapes. They are gigantic, kind of like Te in Moana. We've all seen the pictures of the landscapes that look like petrified giants. Well, it's like even bigger than that, petrified dragons. And I believe that those dragons are real and that they are asleep, so deeply asleep. And I know this is going to sound crazy to some of you, but I actually believe that those dragons are in the process of waking up, and that some people it's like when the dragon went to sleep, its consciousness had to go somewhere in the creation, somewhere in the hologram, somewhere in the realm. And part of where it went is into other humans and probably into some animals as well. And as that dragon begins to awaken, that consciousness awakens within the human. And I really believe that we are going to, I don't know if we in this life are going to see dragons flying in the air. But I believe that at some point in this realm, there will be dragons flying in the air. I'm at a point where I legitimately believe that dragons are real. I believe that people have them around them as spirit guides. I know for some of you, you're like, duh, I've known this for a long time. For me, this is my first, last year was my first time experiencing dragons in my field in a way that is my personal experience. And so some people, I feel, they carry a dragon energy. There's something about them. It's like they carry a dragon energy, but I don't know how else to put it. It's like some people carry wolf energy. Does that mean that they're a wolf? Not necessarily. Some people are dragon code keepers. And I believe that I am a dragon code keeper. I feel like I carry certain codes of understanding about dragons, and like what they are, I don't know, how to use their energy, basically, how to hone their mastery over their fire and their power and their magic and what they are supposed to do. And then some people are dragon whisperers and dragon riders. And I also very much feel that energy in myself as well. Like in the past, I understood dragons. I was deeply bonded with them at a time when they were actually here and nobody disputed it. It was just common, just totally common. But they were still like the most powerful creature, kind of like, Game of Thrones style. And so some of us are dragon whisperers. We have a bond of mutual respect. And some of us are even dragon riders. And I believe that I was a dragon rider. And then some of us are the actual fucking dragon. Like we have the actual dragon consciousness within us. I don't think I am an actual dragon. I'm not sure. Ask me in a few months. Because my perception is always evolving. But at this point, whereas I know I am an angelic, I do not know I'm a dragon. I believe that I am a dragon rider, a dragon whisperer, and a code keeper. But regardless of whether you are any of those, there is the unifying factor is the dragon. So in some way or another, you carry a piece of the understanding, the magic, the power, the potency of a dragon. And you're supposed to do something with that. It's awakening for a reason. It's time for the dragons to come back on the scene. And it makes sense to me that they're not just going to first materialize as a literal fucking reptile flying through the air, that they would first materialize in a way that we can handle and comprehend, such as the energy like channeling through people first. And when I see the dragons, and especially with the true dragons that I've met, and that's why I created the Dragon Priestess Mastermind, is because I happen to, first of all, I carry the codes for the priestess. So I just want to say this. Brothers, men, I fucking love you. And dragons can 100% be men. And I have met male dragons. Angels can 100% be men. And I have met male angels. And for whatever reason, I don't carry the codes for either dragon or angelic men as a group. I carry the codes for them individually. So I work with dragon and angel men in private one-to-one sessions or mentorship. And it's not because I'm I'm never creating priestess groups in order to exclude a certain demographic. I'm creating priestess groups because I know I have the codes for them as a group, but I don't have those same codes for men as a group. And so I can't create it because I can't create something for you and tell you should, join it and pay money to be in it and then have nothing to deliver. But men, eternal open invitation. If you feel called to have a reading with me, if there's something that you need to puzzle out that is being activated in you, or if you feel that you want to work with me in mentorship, you are always welcome. You are received. You are loved. I fucking love working with men. I remember so many of you, probably all of you, honestly, because it's the majority women, so it's easy for me to remember the men, but all of you, and you inform my perception of things so powerfully. So I just want to say that and be really clear. But I created the Dragon Priestess Mastermind because I've met so many dragon women and the dragons. And I see what they are here to be. I see what they are supposed to do. I see the effect it is having on them playing small. I see it. I see the way it is wreaking havoc in their lives, on their health, in their relationships, because they are not meant to suppress this power. It's going to rise more and more and more. It literally is in real time rising more and more and more. And I know they need the dragon codes that I carry to help them basically figure it out and step into it. So when I envision the dragons, I see them basically rising to become, the way the vision translates is literally rising up like fucking giants, 100-something foot tall giants. And I think that's a symbolic representation of the amount of power and impact. But I want to be very clear that even though I'm using fantasy language, I am actually meaning it literally. I don't think this is metaphoric. I'm not talking about like manifesting the life of your dreams and having it all. That is part of it, but that's like, I don't know, that's like a tertiary concern. It's not, it's way bigger than that. Way bigger. One of the things that I understand about both angelics and dragons is that, like, we're here cleaning up the fucking mess, okay? We accidentally, inadvertently made the mess. On a certain level, the way that the angelics and the dragons manifest is in those creator beings that I talked about back in the summer, those Enki and Enlil groups that flood the anthills. Those are also, like, remember I called them Anunnaki? I believe they are Anunnaki. I do 100%. And I don't think that they're responsible for the creation of human beings or this whole place. Like, everything is God, okay? God created everything. But like the seraphim were, I don't know, like, maybe I'm getting too far off track, but I already started the thought, so now I got to finish it. Welcome to my show. Didn't I say this was going to be concise? I don't know why I even try to make that promise. The seraphim are like, they were creating in accordance to God, in surrender and full alignment with God. So they were not creating from their ego or their own will. They were creating. So they were creators, but they were like God turned God's self into creators. And I mean, that's the insane irony of all of this, is that even though there is a Satan is God. I don't know, it's nuts. Anyway, I'm going to try and not get off into the theosophical weeds. The angelics and the dragons are here to clean up the mess that we participated in creating inadvertently. Most of us, like, really, ultimately, there was only one of us that actually had the fall. And the rest of us fell to follow the one that had the fall and try to set things right. And here we are. We made a whole mess all the way through all the dimensions, and it has to get cleaned up. It's like all of these pieces have to be retrieved from the upside down. Then they have to get brought all the way back up the rope of light that we wove around the rope of darkness. All of those pieces have to be pulled back, all the way up to God's source. And then it all has to start again. That is sort of the grander vision of what I see. The role that dragons play is that they have prepared themselves, they have trained and prepared to hold and wield an immense level of power. They are restoring that part of the divine human blueprint. They hold the templates of creation and manifestation. So do the angelics in a way, but the dragons hold it from the perspective of, like, I have an ego and I am an active creator. I'm not passively creating what God wants me to create. I am actively creating from my own free will and my own unique perspective. So whereas here, like, humanity has been reduced to, majority of like hyper traumatized victims essentially and slaves, whether people realize that about themselves or not, that's at least what I see. The dragons are the level of consciousness that's coming back to humans that's like, fuck that, and feels their anger and their absolute unwillingness to take shit, and they're like, it's the realization that you can fucking scorch earth this whole motherfucking place if somebody crosses you the wrong way, and that is a good thing. And though we are wielding that with integrity. So we're not just spitting fire left, right, and center and causing destruction and havoc just because we can. We are feeling that level of power and fire, and we are wielding it masterfully. So the dragons, like, they have an almost like, a superhuman level of power that is coming on board for them, so that they can restore the sovereignty to humanity. And they are also meant to amass huge wealth. And P.S., to be a dragon, you do not have to be visible. You can be totally invisible behind the scenes. You don't have to be like Tony Robbins, and that archetype of other people seeing you in order to have an impact. You can be like very quiet, very unsuspecting, massively powerful, influential person. Perhaps you amass a shit ton of wealth and then you redistribute it very like with great savvy, and I mean, I just did a reading a couple weeks ago for a woman who works in the literal finance world. And it was one of the most fascinating readings I've ever done because she carries dragon energy. I don't think I told her that. I don't think she was ready for that. But I was like, I learned so much about wealth just from being in her energetic field. It was unreal. So that's what the dragons are here to do. I also feel that they are meant to step into a powerful position of leadership. It's just, again, I'll say it's an immense level of power and strength. Superhuman level of power and strength. And it's coming online now. The Angelics are here literally to clean up the mess, to dissolve illusion gently, to purify the frequency. The Angelics are holding the frequency of being coded to keep that gaze upon God and be in total surrender and alignment to the oneness that is all, and have that be the primary directive, the primary motivating factor behind everything that we do. Angels are similarly extremely powerful, but are more sensitive and, generally speaking, have more, they have a harder time adapting to the trauma fields here, whereas the dragons are like, I'll just fucking burn it all down. But that being said, like, the way it expresses through human beings is like, I am seeing dragons who have their power coming on and are not expressing it because they don't know how and they're afraid and whatever. They're playing into their human stories. It's just, it's a big mind fuck to transition into viewing oneself as a dragon. And it's expressing as like repeated bouts of illness and autoimmune flare-ups and things like that. And then angelics also have autoimmune flare-ups because they're so hypersensitive to the levels of trauma and toxicity and density in this world. And they're doing so much cleanup work all the time that it, like, their bodies require, so much support. Their systems, their nervous systems, their energy systems, everything requires such specific conditions in order to be in the state of overflow that they need to be in order to do this work. The angelics, you don't have to be a healer to be an angelic. I just recently accepted that I'm actually not a healer. I can perform healings, but I'm not a healer. It was a big relief when I realized that. And I was like, oh, phew, I'm really a channel. I'm really an oracle. I'm an information bringer and clarifier. But so you don't have to be a healer, but I know that I'm healing just in my presence. I know that. I see the evidence of it all the time. So the angelic aspect is, it's much more passive in a way that you could literally just like have a job at a factory. You could have the most menial job ever, like, Mr. Bucket from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, working at the toothpaste factory, putting lids on the tubes of toothpaste for, a 9-hour shift. That could be your job as an angelic, and you would be purifying everybody's field in that factory, all of your coworkers, silently. without even having conversation, without even needing to make eye contact. It just comes off of you. You have a natural alignment and clarity in your field. And when you can sort of separate yourself from the painful human stories and the suffering that you inherited by virtue of incarnating here, whether it's your own suffering or the collective suffering, when you can sort of like release yourself from that bondage, your field automatically arranges itself into the most exquisite patterns, geometric cymatic patterns, so beautiful. And those patterns purify the environment around you, and it affects everybody. But by the nature of an angelic, they are never imposing. So even though they are constantly emanating this frequency of total alignment with the divine, increasing alignment with God, with the divine, and this purifying frequency of the most beautiful love in unique patterns and shapes and forms. Wait a minute, what was I saying? Damn, I can't remember. Anyway, angelics, very powerful. Oh yeah, it's never imposing. That's right. I knew as soon as I started talking, I remember again. It's never imposing. So you're just emanating this frequency into the field, into the world, into the collective consciousness, into the environment. And yet it's never going to impose itself on anyone. It's only going to have the effect on inviting others to calibrate to that frequency if that is their desire. So whereas dragons have a powerful will and they will execute their fucking will. And what they actually need to learn, like the main thing for a dragon is to learn how to exalt and honor their will and harmonize it with the divine so that it's not a completely like self-serving thing. You know, that's the big temptation for the dragon. But the dragon is, in its nature, it is imposing. And that's what it's supposed to do. That's how it creates effect in the world. And so just as there are fallen angels, there are fallen dragons. There are dragons that are super powerful and they have mastered their power and they selfishly use it to their advancement and at the detriment or to the detriment of, you know, countless others. And there are angelics that are fallen, and I'm not really sure what the fallen angelics are. I don't know if those are demonics. I don't know. I have to pause and think about that. I'll get back to you maybe next month on that topic. But all of this is to say that this is really who I'm going to be talking to probably throughout the remainder of 2023. I still acknowledge galactics. I feel them very strongly. I feel so much Lyran energy coming in. I feel like the Lyrans are a direct drip down of that Seraphim collective that, you know, from the original 12 beings I was talking about. I believe that the Lyran codes are that remembrance of how to create this reality through the use of sound and light. It's very beautiful. I made an Instagram post a while ago about galactic energies coming in. You can check that out if you want. But I definitely still feel the starseed stuff and I still feel the galactic stuff. But for me, my consciousness seems to be moving to further extremes of the polarity between light and dark and understanding how to gracefully and fluidly like be on the side of light and dance with the darkness and be on the side of light, but not from a way or a perspective that I'm better than the dark because I've chosen the light, but just because I'm very clear I want to be with the light. But the dark, even though I call them motherfuckers and like, you know, that like false matrix fuckers and all that. And like, I am truly angry about the way that it is manifesting here and the effect that it is having on consciousness here. I also, at the exact same time that I feel that depth of anger and like, hell no levels of like, I will not accept this. I will not accept a world of pedophilia. Not acceptable. I can feel that. And at the same time, I can feel that we are all one being. It's all one being. And that at least this comes through to me as a priestess, but it's probably true for other archetypes as well. But I mean, I'm just, for whatever reason, I'm a speaker for the priestess. But I feel like the art that I am being called into and the art that I'm desiring to call others into is the ability to be in your light and be in your power, whether it is the template of an angelic or the template or of a dragon or both, because people absolutely can carry both. And be able to flow and dance with life, with all obstacles, with all triggers, with all darkness, with all dark agents, and always be in the driver's seat of that dance, even in the moments where it looks like the other is in the driver's seat. And the reason we're doing it is not just for the beauty of the dance, because when I see the dance, it is very like this is a high level of magic, a very high level of magic that I'm talking about. But it's also like, this is the way that we extricate delicately and thoroughly pieces of the divine mind and the consciousness, pieces of this whole creation, this whole reality tapestry that was interwoven around that seraphim fall. Those pieces in the darkness, we are extricating them and returning them back to the light, because I actually believe that is what they want more than anything, but that they can't achieve it on their own. And they are us. It is all one. I am integrated in my own shadow. I know I am not perfect. In fact, right now, one of the biggest triggers that I am working through is around a past life memory where I straight up murdered somebody. And I felt no remorse. And I honestly, I like, when I look back at the scenario, I'm like, I still don't feel any remorse. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is like, when I say I'm an angelic, I do not mean that I am an innocent, that my soul is so pure and above the human experience. It is not. It is not on any level, in any way. I am here in it with all of you. We are all in it. And as I do this dance with my own past life self, and I do the dance with the other person who is involved, who is in that other life, and, you know, who I murdered, who totally has an entity attachment in this life, I am dancing with the entity that is attached to that person. And in a way, that person is my mirror reflection. And that entity is like the mirror of the angelic that is attached to me. And that doesn't make me superior to that person at all, or more highly evolved at all. It means that this is the way that we are dissolving and resolving the stalemate of extreme polarity and duality that has kept us in this state of pain and suffering and chaos for so long. Okay. That was a really long episode, but I hope that you enjoyed it. The best thing about a podcast is like, it's your own TED Talk. So you can go way over time. Anyway, I, of course, would be remiss if I didn't just invite you to join me in the ways that I have available to work together. So, Dragon Priestess Mastermind Mentorship Hybrid is now being opened up so there's the Dragon Priestess, and I'm opening up another equivalent mastermind called Oracle of Light. So They are the same group, but they're also going to be separate groups so that I can really tend to the dragons and what they need to integrate and know in their particular mission. And I can really tend to the angelics and, tend to what they need to integrate and know for their particular mission. But we're all going to come together on the same group calls. So we're going to have different private chat groups, same price, same structure, everything. If you are a woman and you are a dragon, or you are a man that you believe you carry the dragon priestess, if you are two-spirit, gender fluid, whatever, then message me. If you feel like this is your time to step into this and learn to hone this extremely high level of magic that you carry and this potent power. Dragon Priestess Mastermind is for you. If you identify with being an angelic, and likewise, it's time for you to step into this. You know it is your time. Reach out to me. Oracle of Light is for you. The next thing I have available, this is for the priestesses, and it is to teach them about that the art, the high magic art of dancing with that darkness so that you are always in control. You are always in the driver's seat. And this is a surprise. It's brand new. I literally just had this idea yesterday. So it's in its infancy phase. But by the time this podcast comes out, there will be a link in the show notes for you to get in on this at an insanely low discount price, like so low. And you will only have 24 hours from the time that this podcast comes out, if even that, before the price goes up, because I don't have any branding ready. I do not have a name ready. All I know is what it is and what it's about. So the vibe is, it's for priestesses. It's being held in April, on the weekend of the 15th and 16th, I believe is when it is. Hold on, let me check my calendar. Yes, April 15th and 16th. And it is about activating your high-level magic to dance with that darkness and perform those rescue missions. So check the link in the show notes, get in on that while you can at the, it's like an 80% discount. Anyway, you will not regret it. Believe me, I'm so excited. I can't wait. Okay. The next way to work with me is in Heartstar Creator. It is, it's everything. It is the culmination of everything. It is all the chakras, all the dimensions, all of the strands of our 12 DNA. It is how to become a conscious creator, how to manifest the life of your dreams, manifest on behalf of reality, become a planetary guardian, step into your highest archetypes. It's all the things through a 1-year journey. I don't even know how to talk about it because it's so amazing that I feel like I almost feel stumped. I'm like, how do I describe it? Just trust me, okay? If you want to activate your magic, you don't have to identify as a priestess or a dragon or an angelic to join Heartstar. You can be in a rock bottom to join Heartstar. You can be cruising along and you just want some upgrades to join Heartstar. It is open for everybody, and I promise you, it will change you completely. It will put you on a new timeline. It will give you the ability to architect a new timeline for yourself. So you're not just choosing from the ones that already exist. You are actually creating a new timeline. So get in on that because the price of that is also going up. I mean, it's at the founder's price right now because I just really wanted to make it accessible for as many people as possible. But also, it's a lot of work. It's 52 weeks of content. It is an entire year of every single week content is coming out. And I don't mean a little bit of like a little post. I mean meditations, activations, clearings, rambles. It is really, really deep. Some weeks is more than one piece of content. So don't hesitate. Just get on these things while the price is really accessible. And then the final way is not open yet, but I just want to let you know about it. It's coming. It's called the Code Keeper Mastermind. It is a lower priced mastermind. It is for those who know that you are a game maker. You know that you carry cheat codes to the game, and you know that you are supposed to bring your cheat codes and put them together with other people's cheat codes, because we're here to hack the game from the inside out. We're here to hack the hologram from the inside out. And we're also here to reactivate the telepathic network. It is time. We cannot rely on the internet. It is really important that we activate the 3 levels of the telepathic network now before the internet goes down. So that is going to be starting in Q2, probably in like a month or 2. So just keep your eyes open for that. Of course, I will announce it on the podcast, email, Instagram, Facebook, all the places. But I just wanted to mention it just so you know, so you have it on your radar. Okay, my friends. Oh yeah. Oh my God. Always there's Patreon. If you're like, I just want to be in Amy's energy. I don't really need all these other things. I just want to be able to have conversations with Amy. Come join the Patreon. It is so great. I fucking love everybody on the Patreon. We just started a Telegram channel so that we can chat with each other, or a Telegram chat so that we can have conversations. It's totally optional. If you're a Patreon member, you don't have to join the Telegram, but it's just like a nice place that we can come, and it's like a mini soul space, like a super tiny mini soul space. And we have group hug calls where we get together for like an hour and a half or 2 hours every other month or so, and just have a really nice conversation. And then there's like my weekly energy reports, and sometimes there are podcast bonuses, and you know, there's just good shit there. And most of all, there's good people there. So, okay, that's it. That's literally it. I love you. Oh my God, of course it's not it. There's one more thing. And I swear that's really actually it. I'm in the process of creating some free gifts for the dragons and the angels. So I just created and sent out an email that had an affirmation track, an audio affirmation track for the dragons, and an audio affirmation track for the angelics. And there is also a little mini meditation coming out about like getting clarity around yourself, and a little mini meditation coming out around meeting your dragon. And you can get those all, they're all free. You can get them all for free by subscribing to my email list. So get in on that as well and enjoy those free gifts from my heart to yours. I love you so much. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you have an amazing day or night wherever you are, and I will catch you on the next episode. Well, that's a wrap. I truly hope that you enjoyed the episode and that you got some good activations, insights, and inspirations from what was shared today. I want to remind you that you can review the show on Apple Podcasts for a chance to win a free 45-minute Akashic Records reading with me to be shared on the show. Just remember to screenshot your review before you submit it and send it via email to amy@thenorthstarguidance.com to be entered into the monthly draw. I want to thank my Patreon members from the bottom of my heart for supporting this show. You guys, you cannot possibly know what your support means to me. Seriously. If everything else in my business had to be shut down, the podcast is the thing that I want to keep going, and your support means that it can keep going. On Patreon, I share bonus conversations, gifts from my guests, weekly dope-ass energy reports, quarterly group hug calls, and more. To become a supporter, use the link in the show notes and head on over to my Patreon. And I want to give a shout out to May, who edits all of these podcasts, as well as the Goddess Support team for all that they do to keep this operation running smoothly. Finally, I want to thank you, beautiful listener, for the valuable currency of your time and attention. I do not take it for granted. You are a powerful creator, and may everything in this podcast serve you in your highest creations. Your listenership means the world to me. Truly, truly. Without you, I would just be talking to myself. So, My beloved listener, have a beautiful day or night wherever you are, and I will catch you on the next episode.